How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Photography by Ryan L. Imagery, and I'm Ryan. I'm here to talk to you about 5 things I wish I had known before I purchased my first camera. There's quite a bit of research I had done looking into cameras, but it was mostly just on the lines of image quality and price point. That's mainly what I was concerned. What camera can I get that is affordable, takes great images, and I can get out there and start shooting professionally? Now, I had only done a couple of professional jobs using a camera I had borrowed, and I say professional because I was paid for it. I was still an amateur, I was very new to the world of photography, and I had a lot of learning to do. But when I purchased my first camera, I was excited, went out there, and within 4 to 6 months, I started hitting a wall after seeing a lot of these great photographers you can find online, and I wanted to accomplish similar looks that they had, and I started to realize I was limited based on what my camera could do. So with the 5 things I'm listing here today, hopefully this will help you before you make your first purchase. Number 1, I want to talk about the card slots in your camera. When I purchased my first Nikon, it was a D3300, I had 1 card slot, which is fine if you're not shooting as a hobbyist. But when you want to do a professional job, and you get paid to go take photos, especially if it's something like a wedding, to where you can't reschedule for next week. It could be the biggest day in somebody's life. If you come home, take your memory card out, load it in your computer, and your files are corrupted, and there's no way you can save them, I don't know what you're going to tell that bride. Luckily, I have not had that happen yet. I've heard horror stories, but if I had to tell a bride that I didn't have their photos on their biggest day, I don't know what I would do. I would lose sleep at night not being able to take care of this. So you need to get a camera body with 2 card slots, that way you can duplicate your files into each one. That way if anything at all goes wrong, you have a backup and you're good to go. Number 2, I want to talk about the weather sealing on your camera. My first camera was not weather sealed. So if there was any kind of rain, moisture in the air, I was concerned and I was afraid to go out and take photos at a long period of time. A few times I'd wrap a bag around my camera, but any moisture I noticed, any fog going across my lens, it scared me and I put it up and I had to stop shooting. If you want to get paid for a job and it requires you to be outdoors and it starts to rain during the middle of your job and the event goes on, I don't know what else you're going to do. You can't stand up and say time out, let's reschedule. If the event's going on, you need to be there and you need to make it happen. So look for a camera that's weather sealed and you can get out there and shoot in almost any condition and you can still get paid for your job and deliver the images and make your client happy. And that's what's most important. Number 3, I like to talk about high-speed sync. I've seen a lot of images from amazing photographers online, and they had this great dramatic look. No matter what time of day, they'd be able to balance the ambient light in the background, get great sunsets, have blue skies, and a really shallow depth of field, so they're shooting at f1.8, f2.8, something like this. And they would have a light from their speed light or off-camera flash, whatever it is, and they would balance the light on their subject for this nice, really amazing, crisp-looking shots. And when I would try to balance this ambient light with my gear, my 1 speed light and my D3300, in order to balance the ambient light in the background, I'd be shooting at f16 sometimes or higher, and I just wouldn't have that shallow depth of field. So I soon learned to get the shallow depth of field like that, to shoot at f1.8, f2.8, I'd have to turn my shutter speed up to maybe 1/4000th, 1/3200th, in some case 1/8000th of a second in order to capture this look. And in a lot of cases, depending on what camera body you have, it just will not allow you to shoot at a shutter speed that fast and still use your flash. And you have to find a flash and camera body that are compatible to allow this to happen. So after selling my D3300, I got a Nikon D7000, and this allowed me to have 2 card slots. It was weather sealed and it allowed for high-speed sync, so I could start to capture this really dramatic look no matter what time of day my client was available. Instead of waiting for golden hour or shooting really early in the morning, basically limiting myself to shooting 2 hours a day, I'm now able to go out, have my schedule open all day, book multiple clients, and if I need to, I can really balance the ambient light, shoot at a high shutter speed, and still use light on my subject to capture something they'd like to hang up on their wall. Number 4, I want to talk about internal focus motors on your camera. A lot of people buy these older lenses because they're very cheap and affordable. For example, I have a Nikon 50mm D1.4 I picked up for $70 used. I also have this 50mm 1.8 Nikon, much newer lens, but this one was, I believe, $250 brand new. This lens has a focus motor built inside of it. This older lens I purchased for $70 does not have an autofocus motor. So that requires my camera body to have a focus motor to turn the focus in my lens. If your camera body does not have that, then you're forced to buy the newer lenses, which are more expensive, and of course they have great results to them, but you may not always have the money to buy that newest, latest, greatest lens. For example, the 70-200 new Nikon, you're spending upwards around $2,000. I have this older 80-200 2.8 with the aperture ring on it. It's an old D version lens, so this has no focus motor. You can purchase this one used from Amazon right now for around $400 or $500. Still takes amazingly great shots, and as long as you're not out shooting race cars or birds flying through the air, there should be no problem with your focus on it. It's definitely more affordable. So make sure when you buy your first camera, you find out whether or not yours has an internal focus motor. Number 5, I'd like to talk about crop sensor cameras versus full frames. Now I know it's a big debate a lot of people have. A lot of people shoot crop sensors, a lot of people shoot full frames, and a lot of people shoot micro four thirds. It's totally up to you. But what made the difference for me is when I bought my first crop sensor camera, I got into a few situations where I was unable to use flash. Sometimes it's distracting to your clients. Sometimes people may get bad reactions from a flash going off, or if there's small children around, it can really affect them. So in certain situations, you just have to boost your ISO and do the best you can do in low light environments. With the crop sensor camera, in some cases this will work for you. But in a lot of churches, when you're shooting weddings, other events where there's maybe live bands and you don't have a flash to use, or you're unable to use flash, you really need to turn up that high ISO. A full frame camera, having that larger sensor, allows you to boost that ISO and still get images that are clean. Even with slight noise reduction in Lightroom, you can still get deliverable images, and they work great for your clients. With my crop sensor, if I had to shoot around 3200 or higher ISO, I was embarrassed to deliver the images, but I got paid for the job, so I had to turn them in. With my Nikon D600 and D750 full frames, I'm able to shoot ISO 6400, sometimes up to 12,800, and with slight noise reduction, I get images I'm not afraid to turn in. My clients still love the images. They print them out, hang them on their walls, and that's what it's most important when it comes to doing photography. Is it something you can deliver, print, hang on your wall, and have people be proud of that image for the rest of their life. So hopefully these 5 things will help you when it comes to picking your first camera. If you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you like this video. I'm going to have many more discussions like this coming soon. And I'll leave links in the description box where you can find me on my social media. So until then, just get up and get out and get shooting.